That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi, I'm stupid. Don't know if you saw me there. I don't know, maybe I'll... Oh, look, hey, it worked out fine. Yes, today we are live on Comic Reviews again. I'm not sure if I got anybody here. I did a very, very brief announcement, just like less than 10 minutes. So if no one shows up live for the first few minutes, that's fine, but I have a literal shit ton of comic books to talk about tonight. I saw a couple comic book retailers, small stores, talking about, not enough books came out this week, and it really kills me with comics. Some weeks you just get flooded with like 8 books, and then some weeks you get like 3. It's just, I know that Marvel and DC don't play well together. I know that you gotta, if you put them in a room together, you gotta give them separate toys. I get that all the time. But at the same time, I'm just like, can't you guys work together a little bit better? Can't the industry come out and be like, all right, so we're going to decide what books we're releasing week by week together, so that people get a consistent flow. It keeps the retailers happy. It's something I would like. It's never going to happen, but it's something I would like. Anyway, ranting aside, sorry about not giving much notice. Again, a lot of comics, and I wanted to get the show started because it was getting kind of late. So anyway, this week we will be discussing Darth Vader, Dark Visions, number 1, Batman, number 66, The Green Lantern, number 5, Killmonger, number 5, Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys the Marvel History, number 1, Black Hammer 45, number 1, Super Sons, number 8, and Female Furies, number 2. And then, as if that's not enough, let's add some more content, Ian, and throw in an episode of Trade Talk on Batman The Last Arkham, written by Alan Grant with art by Norm Breyfogle. So yeah, a lot of books. a lot of books. Alright, so I'm not going to delay much more. We're just going to get straight into it with Darth Vader Dark Visions, number 1. So yeah, a couple of years ago, Kieran Gillen had a Darth Vader run. It ran for 25 issues. It was fantastic, and then it ended in like less than a month later. It felt like Charles Soule started up his Darth Vader run. It ran for 25 issues, and then it ended. It wasn't as good. It got better as it went on, though. So we're just a couple of weeks away from that. It may have been just 1 month. I'm not entirely sure. And now we're starting up Darth Vader Dark Visions. This, however, is not going to be a 25-issue series. This is apparently meant to be, I think, just 5 issues. And it's a very different thing. It's not trying to be a whole run on the character. It's just trying to tell simple one-and-done stories with Darth Vader. And I gotta say, on premise alone, I love that. Big advocate for one-and-done storytelling in comics. We don't do it enough anymore. It's very alienating, I feel, to people trying to get in comics and just being crushed by continuity. The one-and-done is a lost art form in this day and age, almost. Unfortunately, just because a story is a one-and-done doesn't mean it's good or the kind of story you should tell. That sounds like I'm being really shitty to this book, and I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was a very good story, and yeah, there are decisions made here on a story basis that are just odd, and I'd maybe even argue bad. They're the kinds of things, yeah, you can do it, but should you? Is this really like... It's the kind of thing, you need a reason to do this kind of story, and if you don't give me that reason, I don't know what to tell you. So that being said, let's see if I can do some positives before I start getting into the book. I do really like the art. I think the art is fantastic. I think there's a great use of the form, the panel structure, and the page turns. I at no point didn't know where to go next. That's always, an unsung talent of the layouts. And then we just get great uses of the page turns. We got, this whole scene, and then they talk about, it's far worse than whatever is they're doing up there. And then you just get this page turn, and you see, a fight of the Empire versus the Rebellion happening up above this planet. So that's just really cool form stuff. Nice, solid control of characters. Really great rendering and stuff. I like the look of Vader here. I do think he looks really good. It especially works, within the context of the story they're telling. I think they do a good job capturing Vader in that regard. Just, that's a cool idea. Especially with, Star Wars being Jedi Knights and Sith being kind of like wizards or something. It's really working with that whole influence of the mythology. So you got Vader rushing in on some kind of alien horseback. I think that's cool. It reminds me a bit of Clone Wars when Obi-Wan and Anakin, or it was just Obi-Wan, I guess, had the clone armor on over his Jedi robes. I always thought that was a really cool look. And so it reminds me of that in a number of ways. Okay. What else can I say positive here? I like something of the premise of this story. Where Vader, crash lands on this backwater world that doesn't have an galactic contact. The background of these people is some kind of gigantic monster has come to their planet, completely destroyed what society they had, and now it's basically post-apocalyptic, and they worship the thing like a vengeful god. And I like the premise there. I think that's a really cool idea. Vader just showing up and kind of killing the god that these people fear. But I get to the point of that's a cool idea. It's one of the few cases where I'm that probably shouldn't be done in a one and done. And to be fair, I guess I am making an assumption that this is a one and done. I don't think they're continuing this. It's certainly by the end, I don't get the impression they're going to continue this. It looks like, I don't know what the next issue is going to be. I'll be surprised if we're back here. So Vader shows up, he kills this monster, and this kid that watched the whole fight looks at him and says, "Thank you." And Vader says, "You should not thank me, child." And then it's "What is that? It seems the Force is with you today." And then Vader fucks off. So the idea of portraying Vader in a heroic light, wherein he kills a monster and saves some people, I'm not against that. I really am not. But it's Vader. What was just told was an Anakin story. And that's a totally fine Anakin story. But now he's Vader. And so him saving people has to come at the cost of the Empire. And so I'd be okay if this were a 5-issue series all set on this planet where at first they see Vader as a savior, but then the Empire comes and it's done. The Empire comes, there's some kind of valuable resource on the planet, and the people go from living in a post-apocalyptic thing where they had a god that they feared, but ultimately were peaceful and had a way of life to just being, slaves, or something like that, I could find much more interesting. But the optics of portraying the S&M fascist military dictator as this cool hero guy, just it doesn't work. Like, the narration, I feel, tries to justify it. Let me see this line, because it quite works within the context of the story. It works, but it feels almost like an afterthought. So the kid's about to be attacked by the monster when Vader rides in, pushes him out of the way, and cuts the thing's claws off. The Black Knight's strange magic yanks me through the air, out of harm's way, or perhaps just out of his. Literally, you lose nothing. If this were an Anakin story, you would never have that, or perhaps just out of his line. That is there solely for us as the reader to remember, oh yeah, Vader doesn't give a shit about this kid. He's just here because he needs this certain angle to attack the monster or whatever. But really, if you need to add a line like that, should you even be writing the story, is kind of where I'm getting at on this one. I'm like, I don't have a problem with having someone see Vader as a hero. I honestly think there's a good story there. What I don't think is it works as a one and done where we don't see the wider context of why Vader is not a hero. This comes off a bit as like villain worship to me. It reminds me of like reading fan fictions about the Joker and how, he just weird shit that people would try to do to justify liking the Joker. And I don't like it. This isn't the kind of story you should tell in this kind of context. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll go back to this planet. I don't know. I doubt it. Yeah. Alright. Anyway, go ahead and move on. Talk about Batman number 66. This is the end of the Nightmares story arc. We took a brief pause from that for the Price story arc. So now we're back to Nightmares. Maelstrom of the Mind. And this has got... who's doing the art on this one? Oh, it's Tom King. He always ends up crediting people in the back. Jorge Fornes is the art. Oh, and Dave Stewart colored. Okay. I know Dave Stewart mostly from Black Hammer. So we continue the Nightmares story arc, and the last big reveal we had in that one was the last few issues had all been taking place in Bruce Wayne's mind, and it was him dealing with this attack that Bane has put him through. And so this issue is Bruce Wayne trying to interrogate Selina Kyle about why she left him at the altar, why she wrote him the letter. And he's doing so, his mind is creating the ability to do so via the question in an interview with Selina Kyle. And so this it's savage how fast I read a Tom King comic. Like, they come out every 2 weeks, and it's never fast enough because of how quick they read compared to a lot of other stuff on the stands today. You want to throw yourself for a trip, read a Tom King comic, and then read a Stan Lee comic, and you'll understand how good Tom King is at pacing and controlling a narrative. Anyway, so this whole issue is really just this discussion about why Catwoman left, the kind of person Bruce is, and the justification for why she left him. And the subtext within the story arc is he's trying to figure out what the real reason is. And I don't know, there's some great visual imagery of Batman here. Panel 1, he's on the ground, getting up, standing on his feet, flip the page, approaching, moving, punching, victorious. And that's pretty much every great Batman story. That's exactly how it all works. There's that old saying, fall down 9 times, get up 10. And yeah, that really does apply to Batman. I don't know. And so this is just kind of like a look at the dynamic of the Batman-Catwoman relationship, and we just get some gorgeous imagery of them. Oh, I love it. Tom King has got to have some of the best imagery for Batman and Catwoman appearing throughout his run by different artists, you know? Like, I remember the Mitch Gerard's one with Bruce and Selena, Rooftops. Gorgeous. There's the annual, has some great images. Like, every time I see it, he sets these artists up for these just iconic images. And it's hilarious because he knows how to stay in his lane, I guess, and just like I've read his scripts and it goes like, all right, panel Batman punching ninjas, panel 2 Batman punching ninja saying and so I know like the script for this is probably like Batman and Catwoman on rooftop, raining, Catwoman walking away, dialogue, why? And it lets the artist just craft the scene, and you feel all the emotion, and it so lets the guy just does such a good job of handing off the responsibility, and instead of trying to dictate every little detail. It's absolutely fantastic. The brilliance of minimalism. Get a 9-panel grid. So he's trapped, he's Batman, he'll escape. No, you don't understand, this is his escape. Me, here, finding this truth, it's all he can do, it's all he can think to do. What, you're the answer? No, I'm the question! The layers! The layers! It's so much and so little. I don't even know how to begin to deconstruct something like that. It's so good. It's perfectly written is probably too much of a compliment. Deceptively simple. I'll go with that. It's deceptively simple in the way it's written. And I get to the end and I'm just like, it's over already? Seriously, great. Great book. As always, Tom King, always killing it. We get this little backup in a couple of the DC books this week. Mad skewers the DC universe. This is a job for crap. I'm already in costume. I imagine that's probably happened to Superman before. You know, I don't think I've ever seen someone draw Superman's nipples so prominently. I've seen, shirtless Superman before, but I don't think anyone's ever rendered Superman's nipples that promptly. I quite enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. Just these little comics and all these like famous comic strip art styles about Aquaman were really, really funny. The Dilbert one cracked me up, I think, the most. And then we get this very mad classic cartoonist style of the Justice League parodies. Those are pretty good. I got a laugh out of it. It was fun to read. I used to love reading Mad. When I was in middle school, 12, 13, 14, I took a bunch of issues of Mad and I cut the comics out and just stuck them all over my walls. Should I do that in here? That'd be pretty sick. Go back to it. I mean, I got a lot of art up on the walls already, but it could work, y'all. Huh. We'll have to think on that one. I'd have to go get some more Mad and start reading it, or maybe find a good funny book. Because I don't want to do it with, like, you know, proper comic art. That sounds really insulting. I don't want to do it with art that's, like, very emotionally moving. I want to do it with stuff that's like, haha, that's good. Probably print out a couple Steven Sejic comics. He does some great gags. I used to tape them on the walls of my room when I was young, but that wouldn't be as fun, because I'd like the ability to remove them and, like, show them to you occasionally when something like, oh, this reminds me of this Mad joke here. I really like that idea. I might have to do it. Anyway, then we get this other one of, like, bring your sidekick to work day. That was, it didn't hit as hard for me as some of the Aquaman jokes, to be honest, but it's still pretty fun. A whole year of Mad delivered straight to your door for just $9.99. Yep, doing it. Bam. Resubscribing to Mad in my 20s. My late 20s. I'm almost 30 and I'm going to read a magazine designed for 13-year-olds. Hashtag growing up right. Okay, anyway. Tom King, Batman, always good. Let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to take a sip. Got Kool-Aid this week. In my 20s, drinking Kool-Aid. Anyway, Beware the Green Lantern, number 5, or the Green Lantern, beware his power. Beware my power. I can't talk tonight. Great time to do a live show. So, this is kind of the, I guess the turning point issue where a lot of what's been building up through this run so far is kind of starting to make sense. So back in issue 1, we had Hal having a conversation with Guardians, and they told him, hey, we've got a mole somewhere on Oa and we need to expose them. And then you kind of forget about that as you go a couple issues in, and then Hal kills a guy. It's like a whole, whoa, what the shit moment that like definitely has some reflection on the current political climate. And in this issue, you kind of get the reveal as last issue, Hal was taken captive by the bad guys of the series, the Black Stars. I think that's what they call themselves. Yeah, Black Stars. So last issue, Hal was captured by the Black Stars after he was ushered out of the Corps, and it was like, oh, he's off for revenge. In this issue, we get that no, Hal Jordan's been put under deep cover. He's expected to do these things and try to infiltrate this organization. And so this whole issue is about Hal going through these trials to introduce or to become a part of the Black Star criminal syndicate. And it's super cool. It's really classic comic book in a way. I mean, it just feels like, okay, hero, but especially like space comic, hero plopped into this thing and now he's got to survive this crazy trial and get out. And that's what Hal does. He's just going through these crazy tasks that he has to overcome that look just absolutely incredible as Sharp renders them. They're just gorgeous scenes here of Hal doing all these kooky, wacky things almost. Liam Sharp was known for a bit of kind of like a gothic medieval style, and that has kind of come through here. It was a bit surprising to see him on a space book, and he's definitely killed it on the sci-fi stuff. But it's cool to get to see him do some of the stuff I think he's a little more well known for in Green Lantern as kind of like a shout out. I like that quite a bit. I don't know, just fucking weird, wacky monsters. Look at that. All those eyes and teeth and just, it's creepy. But then how, like, he succeeds. He becomes a Black Star, and he's part of the organization now. And they're like, you have to choose a new name, so he decides to call himself Black Star Parallax. Love it. And then it's like, well, you're part of the organization now, but you were a space cop, so we need you to really prove yourself. We're on planet Ran, and there's a Defender here, too. Adam Strange. Will you kill him to prove that you're a real Black Star? And it's like a wow moment, and it's a great cliffhanger. It is, because I mean, yeah, we saw Hal kill a guy to get on the path to infiltrate this organization, but you know, it's a guy selling fucking children, and so it looks like, you know, it just seemed like, well, I guess that's okay. And of course, I didn't feel that way. I'm hoping Morrison goes back and addresses that a little bit further, because I feel that was, it's a fine plot point in and of itself, but in the current political climate, I'd prefer a little more tact, if you're going to use it. But here, now he's in this really weird situation. I remember in high school, did anyone else's public high school have an on-duty cop that was just part of your everyday? You just saw him in the hallways and shit? Because mine did, and I can't even remember the reason for the lesson plan. Probably just propaganda in retrospect. But mine came into a class one day to talk about his experience as a police officer before he took the job of guarding a bunch of high schoolers all day. And he talked about being undercover and, you know, trying to bust up drug rings from undercover stuff, and like showed us a picture of himself back then, and he had like dreadlocks and shit. And I remember someone asking him, so you were undercover in a drug ring, did you have to do drugs? And he was like, yeah. It was just always, I don't know, interesting when you look at the ethics and the moral lines of undercover police work. Hey, if you want a reason to hate police departments, go ahead and look up what precincts would do in the 70s and 80s as far as black officers going undercover, and how they would purposefully get them addicted to hard drugs just to bust up a crime ring, and then pretty much leave them without any resources. That gag were to work better if this was tea. Bummer. So yeah, I don't know. It's Morrison playing with those kind of tropes, and yeah, he pitched the series as cosmic police procedural, and that's very much what it's becoming. And I quite liked police procedurals, particularly when you remove it from, you know, the American political system. It's a lot easier to read, honestly, and not just see it as pure propaganda. It also helps that Morrison's, of course, not American. But yeah, good book, good read. Liked it. Let's see here. Robert Emmett says, I love Tom Cruise as Lestat and Brad Pitt as Luis. Cameos at the bottom left corner of the first page. That's funny. Oh, really? Is that them? I guess so. Ha! Oh, Liam Sharp, you clever bastard, you. That's funny. Interview with the Vampire. Yeah, they're the Black Star organization are like cosmic vampires. I love that idea, by the way. That's a good catch, Robert. Thank you. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and move on then. Talk about Killmonger, number 5. The conclusion. It's good, y'all. It's a really good villain series, origin kind of piece. It's got like a nice little fuck you kind of ending to the characters we've seen. At the end of the last issue, the character Knight betrayed Eric and his friend. And so at the beginning of this issue, it says, London, 1 year later, she walks in her home, and there's Eric, and he's like, listen, I've got your sister, and you're working for S.H.I.E.L.D., so I need information from S.H.I.E.L.D., and you're going to give it to me, or you're never going to see her alive again. Your sister's being held by friends of mine. They won't kill her if you do what I ask. You still have the power to save her life, Knight. Now drop the pistol and ask me how you can get what I want. How? I like that. That's a really cool, like, intimidating-ass power move. And, like, I love the context that Eric talks about things and talks about people in. Before he leaves, he says, you're thinking you can tell S.H.I.E.L.D. about me. Maybe they can stop me and save your sister. But you know they won't. I offered you a kingdom. You wanted to be a slave. Slaves do what they're told. That's so fucking Wade. That's got so much weight to it. It's ridiculous. Eric's hanging out in the cover of the Pink Floyd Animals album, Factory. Speaking with his goddesses, the Wakandan goddess of war. Mother Bast is not happy about that. Knight is being fired by S.H.I.E.L.D. because, in fact, she is useless, so she takes her last chance here and tries to get Eric the information he wants. She delivers it to him and says, I didn't open the files. I used it like you said. If it didn't work, that's not my fault. And he says, oh, I'm sure it worked, and breaks the thing in half. Because it was all a setup to get her to completely screw herself over. He found all this dirt on her and gave it right over to made her give it right over to S.H.I.E.L.D. It's like, Eric, you're crazy. This is insane. And he says, no, Knight, this is revenge. And he just, all of a sudden, S.H.I.E.L.D. ops come in, and they're going to arrest her, but he goes through and kills all of them, just like crazy. Kills her, and as she is bleeding out on the ground, he says, your sister's already dead. If the gods are kind, you'll see her soon. And it's harsh. Like, again, just the way he talks to her and the way he frames things is just tragic. Because it's so biting. The drive doesn't take information. It uploaded bank records of illegal transactions, evidence that you're still working the black market, the kinds of things that make your masters angry. I love that the word masters is bold there. I'm clean now. No, you're not. None of us are. They'll be here for you soon. You can run, you can fight, but you don't get to be clean. I just... Man, it's pretty damn harsh. So anyway, big fuck you to her, and then we flash forward months later, and we're in Wakanda, and Eric is there, infiltrating Wakanda directly with T'Challa at his side, giving him the tour. And it says it's continued on in what's it called? Rise of the Black Panther, which is a Coates trade. If that's directly about Killmonger and serves as kind of a prequel to Panther's Rage, as is suggested here, I'm tempted to give Coates another shot on that volume. I just really don't like Coates' voice for Black Panther. I don't know. I got a bunch of trades I need to work through anyway. Probably gonna put a pass on it. But the Killmonger series was really good. I read the Panther's Rage by Don McGregor series number of maybe like a year ago. And I think this dovetails into it reasonably well in like a character motivation kind of way. There's things about it that don't really like, it doesn't feel like the same universe or anything, but like you can kind of see that Eric was always destined to try to destroy Wakanda by completely betraying it. And this kind of shows how he got there. And so I kind of dig it. The art looks great. I don't have much to say about it. I love the way things are rendered. The faces, the shading on that's great. All the coloring. Really great lighting effects in here. I think that's really cool. The way the lights kind of like going through the flying buttress or the archways. Those aren't flying buttresses. The archways of the cathedral they're in. I thought that was pretty cool. I maybe would have gone for less action in the issue, personally. I like this full page we get of Eric. He does very much more look... Yeah. He does look a lot more like the Killmonger we get in Panther's Rage by this point in the series, since there's like a year between this and the last issue. He looks a lot more like the Panther's Rage Killmonger than he does like the Michael B. Jordan Killmonger. So I like that. That's pretty cool. Nice way to transition, blend the two characters together. Interesting stuff. Alrighty. Kuma Ranger says, ever since the movie, Killmonger's thing is to have the most savage burns. That's a fair point. I don't know, would people recommend, like I know a lot of people recommend Coates run on Black Panther, but I feel like that's just because it's what's out there. It's been going for a good long while now. I remember I started trying to read that right around the time I first started up comic reviews in 2015, so it's been going a good 3-4 years. It's had its number of restarts like any Marvel book, though. How many number ones did Coates get for his Black Panther run? Anyway. Alright. Let's go ahead and go on. More Marvel books this week than I'm used to, gotta be honest. Pretty good balance, because I had Darth Vader, I got this, I got Killmonger. It's not perfect, but it's a little more evened out. Alright. Cosmic Ghost Rider destroys Marvel history. I keep wanting to say Marvel Universe. Destroys Marvel history, number 1. Okay. Got a good long look at that cover. So Cosmic Ghost Rider is a real treat. I'm trying to think of how much I should explain, because alright. Spoiler free. You should definitely go pick up this book. But Ian, I don't like Ghost Rider. You should definitely go pick up this book. But Ian, I don't like the Silver Surfer or Galactus or any of that shit. You should definitely go pick up this book. But Ian, I don't like the Punisher or Frank Castle or any of that shit. You should go pick up this book. It's much less annoying when you see the claps in between the words on like Twitter and stuff. Yeah, this is a really, really fun title that is just all about being ridiculous with Marvel history and having a good time along the way. It's a loving rip. It's like when you're hanging out with a friend and you guys like hit each other on the shoulder or something. It's a loving jab. It's like when you just It's seriously, it is the most like friendly kind of bird possible, and just this like really silly kind of thing. It's a really stupid book, but in the best possible way, which is exactly what Cosmic Ghost Rider should be. That's what I recall saying about the Cosmic Ghost Rider miniseries. It's a really fucking stupid book, but in the best possible way. It knows exactly what it is, knows exactly what it's trying to do. It is a laugh riot. And I'm having a ball reading it, and I cannot tell you how excited I am for the rest of this series with how great this opening issue was. Alright, so before I get into the spoiler stuff, I'm just going to read the summation for the catch-up page. Frank Castle was a decorated Marine and upstanding citizen when his family was killed in a mob hit. From that day forward, he led a one-man war on crime as the Punisher, until he died, and then returned as the Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. And then he became Galactus's Herald. And then he became the black right hand of Thanos. And then died and went to Valhalla. Attempting to right Thanos' wrongs, Frank returned once more, going back in time to kill baby Thanos. Instead, he raised him, but Thanos still turned out horrible. So Frank went back yet again to return baby Thanos, where he found him. Now Frank is stuck in the past. God help us all. That's so dumb! Like, it's even from the catch-up page, it knows how weird and dumb and comic booky it sounds. It's just, oh my god, the level of self-awareness here is just great. I love shit like that. And then we get kind of like a basic retread of all that, just with art of everything that Frank Castle, Cosmic Ghost Rider, has done thus far. And then it's just like, okay, now I'm here in the past, Queens, New York, going to visit my family the day before they die. And wacky shenanigans will ensue. And so, like, the whole premise of this book is Frank's telling his wife that, no, I'm Frank Castle's uncle, Fredo. Fredo! It's just so dumb, but it's so good. And he's like, just takes the opportunity to talk to his kid and tell him what a cool superhero he is, and start talking about all the wacky adventures he's been in, going through the past, however many years of the Marvel Universe. Oh, the Fantastic Four exposed to cosmic rays? Well, who's got cosmic powers? Yep, I gave the Fantastic Four their powers. Totally on purpose. And I killed all these mole people in front of them. And that's why they didn't like to have me around. And it's just... So the thing I will say about this book is it's a Mel Brooks movie. If Mel Brooks... He's in his like fucking 90s now or some shit. But if Mel Brooks ever wanted to direct a superhero movie, he should do Cosmic Ghost Rider for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know that's a hot take, but dead serious, the way this book is written is in the same style of a Mel Brooks film. Because Mel Brooks just hits you with joke after joke after joke after joke, and so even if one doesn't land, you don't have time to think about the fact that the joke didn't land for you because you're being hit with another one so soon after, and you're just overwhelmed by the writing and the funniness. Like, I think of the scene in History of the World Part 1. God, I fucking love that title. Where they do the Spanish Inquisition. History of the World. Okay, and I'll do some screen sharing here. Desktop 1. Boop. Oh, I need to be the other screen. Hold on. I'll do some screen sharing here. Hopefully this doesn't get me a copyright strike. But I'm just reminded of this. Like, so it starts off kind of all solemn and stuff, and we get like this whole build-up of Takamata and yada 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 yada. God, it's like 2 minutes of build-up. And then like just suddenly, it just turns into a big musical number. And I'll just click through this. So like, there's a joke, and then it's a show tune, and then there's all these jokes within the show tune that are just hilarious as part of the lyrics. And then there's these visual gags of just this big dance number with all these Spanish monks torturing people. The tortured Jewish guys just, oh, you Gewalt! There's just such a good song and dance routine. It just like it's joke after joke after joke, and that's what it feels like reading Cosmic Ghost Rider. Hold on, I missed it. All right, let's get the. There's the monks doing the kicks. That's pretty good. Oh my god! No 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 no. Look on the knees. And it's just, it gets so over the top. Look at this shit. I at this point I'm reviewing History of the World Part 1 in Mel Brooks' style, but I cannot think of more flattering comparison. Send in the nuns! And so we get like these nuns entering, and then this shit happens, and they just randomly start diving into the swimming pool. It's like a big synchronized dance, and then we start throwing some rabbis in there, and then just, they come out as a fucking menorah! It's the most absurd shit you will ever see in your entire life. Until transition powers activate! You read Cosmic Ghost Rider destroys Marvel history, because it's the exact same shit. It's just joke after joke after joke, and it never ends. Sorry, I need to rearrange my windows so I can see what I'm doing here. I tweeted a couple pictures because I got such a damn laugh out of it. It took me so long to read this book because it's really, really overwritten, but in a really fun way. But it's so overwritten that it's just a really long read. So you really are getting your money's worth here. So apparently there's a story where Galactus and Reed Richards got arrested. I think that was maybe a thing. And this just like parries the shit out of it with like Cosmic Ghost Rider being their attorney. It's like, and when the trial came, I hit him with some Matlock style razzle dazzle. Your honors, I'm just a simple cosmic spirit of vengeance, and I may not understand big intergalactic ways, but my client is a moron. He's more a murderer than he's no more a murderer than a cat. And I just lost it at that shit. It just gets better and better as you go. It's like, oh yeah, that one time the Thing died and the Fantastic Four went off to go find him. Well, I helped with that and we went to heaven and met God. And so it's referencing the really famous issue of Fantastic Four where they meet Jack Kirby, and you just get, what's that abomination doing here? He's not one of mine. He's got to wait outside the office. I just lost it. It's just too fucking funny, man. It's too good. And then you get to the end and Uatu shows up because Frank's been changing history and is fucking stuff up. But then you get to like the end and they tease issue 2's cover. Jeez, kid, do you ever wash this thing? Spider-Man no more. I'm losing it. It's just too fucking funny. It's joke after joke after joke. literally the only thing that this could do to make me more happy is if they get like a Mel Brooks joke in here now. Like I was tweeting about this online, and one of the co-writers, this written by Paul Scheer and Nick Giovannetti. I'm gonna go with Vanti. Sorry if I fucked up your name, bro. Nick. I'm gonna go with Nick. I know how to pronounce that because I'm an idiot. He tweets me. He's like, "Hey, thanks. I'm glad you're enjoying the book so much." I'm like, "Yeah, this is great." I hope it all hasn't been written and finalized because I will literally. I always try to stop myself from buying the singles and the trade. I tell myself if I really want to read it again, I can go through my long boxes, yada yada. If you throw a Mel Brooks joke in here, for me, I promise I will buy not only the single issues, I'll buy the trade. I promise. I don't like doing that because Marvel's just getting my money twice at that point. But if you throw a Mel Brooks joke in here, for me, if it's doable, I will buy both. It is that much fun, and I'm enjoying it that much, all on issue 1. I cannot wait to see where this shit goes. I am so fucking excited for it. Yeah. It's good. Who is it? Gerado Sandoval does the art for the issue, and he does some really cool renders. Like, the 90s were a time where it was just all chains and spikes and shit, and like it was not self-aware in the slightest. This is the chains and spikes and shit, but it's super self-aware. And so it looks so fucking cool. But it's also so fucking stupid. And again, just in the best possible way. Look at him fucking destroying mole men left and right. The horror! Oh no, these guys, it's fine. Totally okay to murder them. These things are mindless like zombies or politicians. Please stop, my children. They're sentient creatures. I just got such a fucking laugh riot out of this. The Silver Surfer wanting to be Galactus's friend. Oh god. So we're going to get this. We're going to get through this series. And Marvel's going to do Marvel. And there's going to be a Deadpool team up. And I'm going to read it. I'm going to fucking read it. I know Marvel. I know them so well. They're like the neighborhood kid you grew up with for me. I know they're not going to be able to resist a Deadpool crossover with this character at some point. I'll be there for it. Cosmic Ghost Rider may just be my favorite Marvel character. I'm throwing that out there. It may very well happen. Great series. Go read it. Robert Evans says, Cosmic Venom Rider, Legendary Super Saiyan Blue God 4 Kaioken times 20 Ultra Instinct with an adamantium skeleton and Batman's utility belt versus the Marvel, DC, and Dragon Ball multi-universes. Yes. I'll read it. You forgot to throw a Green Lantern ring in there, or a Spectrum ring in there. You need to do that. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and move on and talk about Black Hammer 45, number 1. This is odd timing, because we just got an issue in the main series, and then there was the one-shot, I believe just the week before that. And now they're starting another mini-series. I'm really enjoying the Black Hammer universe. I legitimately I am. I wish it was paced for release a bit better. Because, like, what it was is you had the original... I feel like it was the first 12 issues. It might have just been the first 6. But you had the initial run, or a good section of it, maybe like the first half. And then you had a break, and during the break, we got Sherlock Frankenstein and Legion of Evil, which was the tie-in that kind of, like, gave you some background on the universe. On a part of it we hadn't gotten to see yet. And then there was more issues. Yeah, I was sick. I'm getting caught up on a detail that I know doesn't matter, but I'm stuck on it. I feel like there were 6 issues, then we got Sherlock Frankenstein Legion issue, Legion of Evil, another 6 issues. Then we got Dr. Star, whatever that one was. I didn't read that one. Then we got more of the main series, and there was another break. And I just think, like, during that break, because it felt like it was a good month or two between issues of Black Hammer, I wish they'd released this as opposed to kind of, I don't know, just it feels like an odd time to put it out. It feels like I'll be following maybe one too many threads from this universe, particularly because this doesn't seem at all connected to the main book, which is fine, because Lemire is clearly trying to flesh out a universe here. But it really seems to just be like kind of fleshing out the history of this universe a little bit. And in a way that's really cool and I quite like. So how to put this? I really like when we do World War II in comics. Because there's like the real world context of that's when like American comic books were first becoming a thing. And so there's like all these nostalgic connections. But then we've moved on, but we've kept a lot of the characters from that era. And so World War II is a part of them, but in order to keep them contemporary, most of them have nothing to do with World War II. Like Batman, and Tom King's Batman has never fought in World War II. Has never done anything, was clearly not alive in World War II. Captain America is like the exception, but by and large, the characters have tangentialized their connections to World War II. And so the war becomes like this really interesting thing of what different comic book universes want to do with it. And the approach as of late has seemed to be creating some distance from it and having it be like the proto era of superheroes. Like, these are the things that were going on that inspired the superhero wave alive and active in the present day of the universe. And Black Hammer seems to be doing the same thing. So in this issue, we have fighter pilots walking on planes to break into them and drop bombs inside of enemy planes. We have giant Soviet robots, and we have a German fighter pilot so skilled that he's got hundreds of kills to his name. So the most comic booky thing is obviously the giant Soviet robot. And so, yeah. I'm going to have complaints about the writing of the Soviets here. But credit where it's due, female soldier commanding the Soviet robot brigade. That's a really good touch, because the Soviet Union was the only allied power to have women serving in combat roles. I'm like 90% sure that's right. China may also have opened up ranks, but I can't recall. I know for a fact the Soviet Union did. I can't recall if China did. Anyway. So this story is about the Black Hammer Squadron, which was a fighter pilot unit in World War II that took on all the crazy missions and did all kinds of wacky stuff. And we get like a couple of like, oh, this mission and this mission. We destroyed the dreaded Nachtwacht patrol. There were newsreels where people cheered in the aisles. They knew what the wolves had done to our boys. On land, at sea, in the air, we did it all. The press liked to say we were dauntless, always daring, always upright. Did I miss it? I remember, and there's like this scene where they, jump into an enemy bomber and drop off a bomb to blow it up before they skydive out of it, which is kind of cool. Next were the laboratories of the Struntenhexner, who sought to turn the very forces of nature against Allied troops. We made short work of them one summer night, while the skies screamed to be released from their bloody influence. Next were the artillery lines at Bastogne, to give the men of the American 101st and 82nd Airborne some relief. We roared through the Ardennes like men possessed, like motorcycles. Then next were the Dragonetchis and their train. We destroyed the beast's mystic trainers, while the horseless rider broke the cruel monster of the northern skies against the granite rock of the Alps. And you got like a giant cowboy fighting a dragon. So yeah, lots of like crazy kooky World War II stuff, and then it's like the last mission of the war is to go get some Jewish scientists the Germans didn't feel comfortable killing because they might be too valuable for their trans-dimensional theories. And it's to extract them before the Soviets can get to them. The Red Wave, as they call it. And that's the robots marching. So I really, really like the duplicitous nature of the allyship with the Americans in the Soviet Union. Strange bedfellows in World War II. Really, really strange. There's a lot of historical argument that the Cold War started well before World War II ended. The amount of work that... because it was like so necessary. Like the Americans hated Stalin and hated the Soviet Union from the get-go. But like the second Germany was declaring war, it was like, we can't beat them unless they have to fight on two fronts. We just can't do it. And so they had to ally with the Soviets, and the Soviets needed the help because they were still, they were still so recovering from the damn revolution that their infrastructure was all just fucked, and they didn't have the modernization needed to take on the Nazis on their own. But the other allies, France, Britain, US, couldn't afford for the Soviets to fall and not have that double pressure put on Hitler. So like there's all kinds of weird shit that was done in the war to help the Soviets from the American side. Like, I live in Indiana. Gary, Indiana was a big manufacturing town back in the day. The city plan of Gary, Indiana was recreated in the in a mountain range in Russia, like street for street. The entire, it's super fascinating to look up. I'm not going to go into all the details in case I get a couple of them wrong and I want to sound like an idiot, but like the Americans helped recreate recreate super successful American factories in Russia because they couldn't afford for the Soviet Union to fall. Super fascinating stuff. And then there's like a propaganda war going on under the surface too, where like they'd ship supplies, humanitarian supplies, to support some of the Soviet troops and Soviet people, and like there'd be cigarettes with "Made in the USA" printed really, really big on the packets of cigarettes, and the Soviets would cover over them because they're trying to hide where the sources were coming from because they didn't like the propaganda. It's super fucking fascinating. But of course, in exchange, Russia took the worst of the war as far as the Allied deaths go, because of course it wasn't just soldiers. Like, the U.S. had Pearl Harbor, the U.S. lost soldiers at like Normandy along with the British and stuff. France fell and had a resistance, but no, the Soviets just got murdered. They were there to keep pressure on the Nazis, but it was like tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people died. Civilians, it was crazy shit. The sacrifices the Soviets made are so criminally underportrayed in media. It's the way Americans are. It's kind of crazy. So anyway, you've got this early Cold War brewing kind of stuff of the Americans not wanting to let the Soviets get to these scientists before they can get to the scientists. So it's nice duplicitous bullshit there. And you get this really interesting just three-way race where they're trying to get to the guys, but there's like this infamous Nazi pilot who's taken out hundreds of ships or hundreds of planes, and he killed the brother of the brothers of the leader of the Black Hammer Squadron, and all this crazy stuff. Meanwhile, the Red Wave is marching into Germany, and like we get what is a pretty typical ass Americanized portrayal of a thing. Nazarova was a flamethrower. Comrade, our scouts report fugitive infantry inside the church, hiding among civilians there. They cower before us. We can send in ground unit to separate them from the people and... No time. We sustain the march to Vienna. Understood, comrade. And they just fucking, like, blow up the church. That's one of those things. Obviously, the Soviets did not have giant death robots, but... No, the march into German territory, again, the Soviets lost a lot in the war. They went with, like, scorched earth policy just to try to hurt the Nazis as much as possible, but obviously doing so hurt themselves more. Or hurt themselves significantly, too. Like, poison wells before they'd leave a town, stuff like that. And so when the tide of the war changed, yeah, the Soviets did not give a goddamn fuck in the slightest about German civilians. I'll give it that. They did not give a damn. That being said, it's the way that these things are chosen to be portrayed that tends to irk me. So I'm like, I'm not a Soviet apologist by any means. Soviets did some fucked up shit. Americans did some fucked up shit. Sure, Nazis did some fucked up shit. Doesn't mean they're all equal. It means they all did some fucked up shit. So I'm not here to try to rant and rave and apologize for the Soviets, but it is worth being aware of how American media, comic books included, choose to portray certain people and why that is. And I'm not saying Jeff Lemire has anything in particular against leftists or anything like that, but like this is just an attitude that's kind of been baked into American media across the board, American culture really, about how we see the Soviet Union. Like, yeah, they were our allies in World War II, but we don't focus on that part. We focus about like what made them bad. It's all plenty fascinating. I don't think it's that deep here. I think Jeff Lemire wrote a scene where the Soviets did a thing that's morally questionable. And you know what? It was World War II. A lot of shit was morally questionable. I'm not going to harp on it too hard there. Anyway, so the Black Hammer Squadron flies off into this this hairy-ass situation, and so there are players involved. The Nazi pilot, the Soviets commander, and the Black Hammer Squadron. The players are set, and things are gonna set up to go wrong. Alright, so all that being said, probably my most negative criticism of this book, however, is the art. Black Hammer's been doing really experimental things, if I'm going to be kind, with the artists they're choosing. I guess they're real... if I'm being generous, I guess they're trying to make it look like it's not any other book that's on the stands. They want it to feel unique. But who's the artist on this? Let's see here. Fawkes. Oh no, that's the writer. Jeff Lemire did the story with Ray Fawkes, and Ray Fawkes wrote the script. Okay. The artist is Matt Kindt. Kindt, K-I-N-T-D. So, Matt Kindt has a very rough, sketchy kind of style. And I think it gets better when it's bigger. Like, I showed that last page, or toward the end there, that page of, like, our players on the board. And I think this looks fine. It's not my favorite kind of thing, but I can deal with it. But you start off early in the book, and it just looks really, really rough. Like, I don't know, this panel really stood out to me. It didn't even look like the legs got finished on these characters. Things about, like, these are supposed to be photographs. So I get they're supposed to be maybe looking a little bit different and not, like, perfectly rendered, but I don't know. It's still, this whole issue's art really didn't sit well with me. It just looked really rough to me. It looked very almost unfinished, and I didn't care for it. It's probably just the style. It's probably not like he was trying to rush out pages or anything like that. I'm sure he put a lot of work into this, and this is just his personal style, and they want it to stand out and be different. And it does, but not in a good way for me. It's not like I'm not going to keep reading the series. I did like it well enough, and it's not like it turned me off or distracted me that much. But I gotta say, the thing for me that is definitely the lowest on the ranking here is definitely the art. Even some of the facial expressions just kind of get me a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, I think that'll do it for Black Hammer 45. How many more books do I have? Okay, just 2 more single issues, then we'll go on to Trade Talk. Only an hour and 12 minutes in. That's not too bad. Maybe I shouldn't talk so much about Soviet politics. All right. Adventures of the Super Sons, number 8. Every time I read this book now, I'm just a little sad because I know it's kind of wrapping. Then we're probably not going to get this kind of stuff again, or at least for a very long while. So it's a bit bittersweet. Damien and John are trying to form a plan to escape. Meanwhile, Rex Luthor has expanded his empire of villainous youths. And that's kind of cool. I like big splashy stuff like this. This is just fun, you know? It's just kind of cool to look at it, and it's like, oh, there's an alien kid dressed up as this character and stuff. It's cute. It's fun. So Damien and John are trying to escape the prison planetoid. Meanwhile, Rex Luthor has taken it over. And shit's just going wrong for them, so they got a plan to get off, and they're just trying to get off world. It kind of goes sideways at the last minute, but they're able to escape because Rex Luthor decides, you know what, I've spent too much time chasing them around and focusing on them. I need to focus on my real plan, which is the army, the Injustice Army. So he's got this whole bad guy evil plan involving the army we saw. Continually just great dialogue and character writing in this series. That's the thing that I keep coming back for, and I'm gonna miss the most if we're done with Super Son stuff, because John's now aged up. Damien built a bat cave on the prison planet, and John's like, of course you built a bat cave. He's Like, and I have 6 more scattered around the other districts. Geez, when do you sleep? I was trained to sleep in short bursts whenever I can. Half my brain is napping right now, even while I talk to you. Hysterical. What's the plan? Are we sure we can trust this guy? He's already double-crossed us a couple times. I'm working on a plan. Maybe after my nap. JJ, like, that's so fucking good. I've trained myself to take micro naps. I'm having one right now. I don't even know if it's a joke. Like, I really don't. It's just great dialogue for these characters. Oh, it's the best. Best around. John Kent has, like, anime protagonist hair in this issue. And I don't really have anywhere to go with that. I just have that. So yeah, just super fun character writing. That's one thing Tomasi knows how to do, and I've kept saying that over and over again. Just great character writing. I can't wait. I honestly am going to be excited to be able to reread the series when it's all done, because it's just super fun. And it's refreshing. Really love the art. Again, the big image of the Injustice Army, as we're going to be calling them. That's cool. That's fun looking stuff too. It's just really great choices there. I like the kids Sinestro and the fucking Giganta in the background's great. That's fun. It's just fun. It's cool. I feel happy while I'm reading this. I just got a smile on my face 10 miles wide. Yeah, that's really all I got. I don't have much else to say about Adventures of the Super Sons, number 8. Alrighty. Take one more sip. Okay, Female Furies, number 2. So if you watched Monthly Comic Roundup a couple days ago, I ranted and raved about how good I thought Female Furies number 1 was and how surprised by it was. Number 2 keeps up that same level of quality. Just continues to show some of the kinds of relationships that can develop, or I guess relationships might not be the best word, interactions, dynamics that develop between people and their abusers. So, Aureli, Aurelie, her background right now is that she's got these special training programs with an Apocalyptian general. And all the other Furies are really jealous of her because that's so exclusive. But she hates it because she's being groped and abused by this general who keeps threatening her life, basically, her career, if she tells. And after this really dark thing that she and Barda just did, she comes out and tells Barda the truth. Willick, the general, he makes me do things, touches me, tells me that if I don't let him, then my life with the Furies and on Apocalypse will be ruined. I believe him. And Barda says, he's never done that with me, you're making it up. It's true, deep down you know it is. Stop lying about Willick to cover up your failings as a Fury. Get it together, Aureli. That's, oh god, I love Barda so much, and that makes me hate her so much. And that's really the dynamic here, because Barda's never been written that way. And it hurts to read her that way. But it's such a real thing that people in these kinds of situations deal with. And so that's the thing that I talked about it a couple days ago on the Monthly Comic Roundup with Simeon. He really didn't like the first issue because he felt it was too much of a divergence from the characters in the universe of the Fourth World Apocalypse. And in service of the metaphor, the narrative. And I agree, it is a big divergence. Barda, even when, like, the little bits I've seen of her when she was, under Darkseid and Granny's brainwashing, has never acted that way to another woman. Has never been that hurtful. But within the context of the story, for the sake of the metaphor, the characters are being altered to fit the stream, and it's creating a very, very effective story. That's it's just tragic. It's like you feel so much for her, and like really you think that's what the women who've come out about the sexual abuse they faced are going through. And then the story gets darker, which I don't even know if I feel comfortable talking about on the show without at least just giving, trigger warning. So if anyone's watching this and is triggered by abortion or things related to sexual assault and rape, stop watching now, because Ariel continues to be abused by this man who has power over her, and no one believes her. She's suffering kind of alone and dealing with the tragedy herself, and is getting completely overwhelmed by it. Look at this scene of her in the shower scrubbing herself, crying. It's so fucking sad. I gotta find the scene. So she's in Granny's laboratory, and Granny says, "We must harden ourselves at all costs. Darkseid and his ilk can smell weakness. What's this? What did you do to make this mistake? I told you to protect yourself. This pregnancy of yours could be our undoing." Nariel says, "He forces himself on me. It was an accident. Our bodies are Darkseid's. We fight for his glory and for Apocalypse. It wasn't my fault. It should be Willick's undoing. Lucky this dalliance of yours has some scientific merit for an experiment I'm running. We'll take care of this problem, then you'll go back to training with him without complaint." And so yeah, kind of fuck Barda earlier, but at least she's brainwashed. At least she's just kind of stuck in this world. I've literally never hated Granny Goodness more than in this scene. Tom King had her fucking sitting at dinner with a guy she was starving to death, dangling food in front of his face. I've never hated her more than this scene. The idea that she would force someone to have an abortion and then send them back to their abuser and blame everything on them. It's... Again, I made the comparison that if Mr. Miracle was the book about depression and anxiety, and just living with mental illness, then Female Furies is very much a reaction to the Me Too movement. And I would certainly like to believe that the set of circumstances surrounding this this particular situation are exaggerated for the sake of the comic, but I don't know how much. So yeah, God, I feel so fucking bad for this character. It's just a tragedy. You're just sitting there watching it, reading it, and it's like, I can't do anything, and it's Apocalypse, and I've never heard of this character. Nothing good is coming of this. It's a hard read, y'all. It's really, really well written. It's really smartly written. It's a hard-ass read. I don't really have much to say about the rest of the book. The plot continues to develop. There's a pretty blatant call out here via art and dialogue pairing that I thought was pretty good politically. So we get this extreme close-up on Willick. And his dialogue is, "You're a nasty woman." And just the way they've chosen to draw him and focus on him right there, it looks a little like Trump. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. I don't think I am. Yeah. It's an intense fucking series. I mean, we're 2 issues in. It's already one of the most intense things. My God. She'll continue to train with me. I know how to break a horse. I'm not a liar and I'm not crazy. Granny, don't say another word. You've jeopardized everything I've worked for my whole life with your lies. I'm not lying. You have to believe me. I'm not going back to his office. No more special training. You will suck it up, and as I and every woman on Apocalypse have done for years before you. You will do as I say. You will do as he says. If you don't, then they will shut us down. He harasses me. Why won't you believe me? And then we just have the other Furies. You're a crybaby. You're weak. Always looking for attention. Stop lying and you call me crazy. Enough. I'll find a way forward from this blunder. I always do. Bernadette, Stampa, I have a task for you. I need you to fetch something for me. Speak of this to no one. I will rise one way or the other. And so you just get this sense of ambition at all costs. And so the premise of the series is obviously very important, and the quality of which it is written leads me to some extent give the writer maybe a little bit of an out, be a little bit generous to the writer expressing the story they want to tell, the metaphor they want to create with these characters, and have it not be at the cost of the Fourth World characters. Because I said before, I feel like the characters are written out of character from how I've traditionally read them. I have trouble imagining Darkseid acting the way we've seen him act in this series. But all the tragedy, all the intense suffering that Ariel is going through here, and the fact that Granny's putting her through it, or enabling it, in all in order to please Darkseid, does make me think that if you want, you can create a justification that I feel meshes with Darkseid's character pretty well. I've always been under the impression that Darkseid is not the type to care if you're a woman or a man. He cares about how effective you are at serving him. I feel like maybe you could make the argument that Darkseid knows that everything Granny says is true. And he doesn't care because she works better for him when she thinks she's being disapproved of. She pushes people harder and past limits when she feels that she's being seen in a negative light by Darkseid. And that's the kind of evil that Darkseid's consistent with for me. So yeah, brilliant series. We're left with an interesting cliffhanger as they've kidnapped one of the Forever people. And I'm just really curious to see where things go. Great series so far. 2 issues and it's absolutely fantastic. Okay. Man, hour and a half. It's 10. Yeah, I can get through trade talk, because I actually don't have a ton to say about this. I was thinking about maybe pausing and doing trade talk another night, but I should be able to get through this. Alright. For trade talk this week, we're talking about Batman: The Last Arkham. This is written by Alan Grant with art by Norm Breyfogle. This has been something that I've had for over a year, I feel. I bought it because I really wanted to read it. I was on an Arkham kick, and it kept getting put further and further down my stack of stuff to read. So this was the first 4 issues of the Shadow of the Bat title, which was another Bat book that was introduced. And Alan Grant has a foreword here where he talks about the generation of the idea. And they're like, okay, we want to do a Bat book. What are we going to call it? Shadow of the Bat. All right, so the focus then is going to be on things that are affected by Batman. The characters and places that Batman has an effect on. Which is a really cool premise, and I could really go for something like that again. But who do we start the series with? Well, the Joker, obviously, but we just used him, was kind of the thing going on at the time, so we just used him in a really big story. It would feel weird to start another book and it'd just oversaturate the character. And so someone came up with the idea of Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum is going to be the focus. And it is, and it kind of not introduces but uses a relatively new villain of the time. And so this is something that I bought mostly for the cover. This is one of those really iconic images of Batman, and there are things I really, really like Batman imagery-wise. The silhouette's always great. The Joker dressed up like Batman in any way, shape, or form is great. Batman in a straitjacket's one of my favorites. You give me something with Batman in a straitjacket on it, I'll read it. I don't care. I will certainly look at it. But the premise of this story is interesting in that Arkham Asylum was being rebuilt under the care of Jeremiah Arkham, who's now the official warden of it. And he is a behaviorist. He doesn't care about, in this he is, he doesn't care about what the patients want or what they feel or what they think. He cares about modifying their behavior. So he's very directly a behaviorist, which has been, pretty much debunked scientifically, but it's a fun thing to run with in a comic book. And so he's kind of, it's ethically shady ass shit, at the very least, if not downright torture, the way he's treating his inmates. You got Scarecrow, and he's talking about what he fears and stuff, and he's got a phobia of birds, apparently. So they rig a projector, just project images of birds attacking Scarecrow until his behavior modifies. And he becomes not afraid of the birds and realizes that imposing fear on others is not okay. So yeah, it kind of gives you the premise of what Jeremiah Arkham's like in this. Jeremiah Arkham's one of the most inconsistently written Batman characters ever. Meanwhile, he's got a newer inmate, which is Victor Zsasz, who is completely deadly and you can't be around his ass because he will fucking murder you. But then there's the really shocking thing, which is the other new patient at Arkham, Batman, who has come to Arkham because he lost it one night working a case and killed a police officer who he felt wasn't taking the case seriously enough. And now he's locked up in Arkham with all the other inmates. And that's okay. So there's this case of this guy who's going around murdering people and posing the bodies like in Pleasant Family Sit-Downs, which is exactly Victor Zsasz's MO. But Victor Zsasz has been locked up in Arkham the whole time. How is this possible? And that's why Batman has infiltrated the asylum under the guise of being admitted forcefully by the police to try to prove how, or figure out how Victor Zsasz is escaping and getting back to Arkham to kill people. That's pretty much the premise of the whole book, is just solving that mystery. Ultimately, it turns out it was a construction worker on the asylum who like carved out a secret tunnel and extorted money from the inmates for them to be able to use it. It's all well and good. I think the premiere scene is when Zsasz kind of smooth talks Arkham into getting the inmates' respect by breaking Batman. He's like, well, if you could get Batman to really bend to your will, then yeah, all the inmates would really respect you and start, working very seriously on their therapy. It's a bit gimmicky. It's like I can't deny that part of that rubs me the wrong way and seems really obvious and gimmicky and like, oh, okay, come on, really, that's what's gonna work. At the same time, I really can't get enough of this image of Batman being forced into a room where all of his villains watch him have to fight Amygdala, and then the glass comes up and he's got to fight all of them. And it's all at the behest of Arkham. It's very gimmicky. It's almost like a video game boss level or something. And so I was a little like, really? That doesn't really work with Arkham's character. Ultimately, Batman kicks all their asses, which is kind of fun. He does it in a really good 2-page spread. And so Arkham feels kind of embarrassed by that and has to admit defeat to Zsasz and says, you're not manipulating me to do something like that again. Ultimately, Batman, solves the mystery and says, Arkham, you're now on my shit list for what you did to me, and I'll be keeping a real close eye on you. So, I don't know. This was fun. It was fine. It's not a great Arkham story. It's really intense and violent and stuff, and that's kind of unique because like a lot of the Arkham books are pretty violent, but a lot of it happens off the page. This gives you a pretty good look at most of it, which I liked. But ultimately, this came out after Arkham Asylum, Serious House on Serious Earth, and I got really excited about hearing about this existing because Grant did such great Arkham stories right around the No Man's Land time frame, and just really, really good, creepy, unsettling stuff. So in the Arkham story collection, I guess you'd call it, still think Arkham Asylum, Serious House, and Serious Earth is easily the best. This is above Arkham Asylum Living Hell and probably above Arkham Asylum Madness. But it's not Grant's best work on the book. Grant really did develop a great voice for Arkham Asylum. By the time you get to the stuff, is it called Come and See? I'm trying to remember the name of the story. I did a Trade Talk episode on the Batman 100-page Arkham Spectacular. Go read that, or go watch that. Go read that too, and you'll find the exact name of the particular story. But Grant developed a much better voice for Arkham, and like here you can see the groundwork of it being laid, but it's just that it's the groundwork. This isn't the good meaty stuff yet. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got on that. Well, yeah, I said it was going to be a short episode of Trade Talk. Norm Breyfogle's artwork is still amazing. It's very of the time, but in a good way, which is saying some of the 90s, or maybe late 80s still, I don't know. So, stuff like that's just cool. Again, the scene where Batman beats the shit out of all the villains inside Arkham Asylum is, I feel like I've seen that a million times now. But it's just, I don't know, there's cool ass shit in here. Great, I like that. That's great. Jeremiah waking from a nightmare. There's shit like that I just really, really like. Where's it at? I just want to see the image of him standing over all the... Yeah, look at that. Him standing over Amygdala, looking so creepy. When Batman goes silhouette mode, I just love it the most. And he just beating the crap out of all the villains, and then you get the page turn, and it's not even a contest. You just put him in a room, and Batman's easily going to win it. I like that. So yeah, great artwork, though. Story doesn't hold up 100%. It's not the greatest thing, but it's also not bad. It's a fine read. I'm glad to have it in my collection because I really like Batman Arkham Asylum stories. So yeah, overall, enjoyable enough. That will do it for this episode of Trade Talk. Everyone, thank you very, very much for watching. And also, thank you very much for watching comic reviews. Have a good night, everybody. I am out of here.